Okay. So I think that I need to move in a little closer, but we're here at Renewed Mind and we're recording live today and we're looking at the topic of
mental health and the changes it takes to become successful in life, how to change the way you think to change your life.
So where do we start with that? Well, I can start with first, my name is Kim Warner, and I'm a director at Renewed Mind. I also have a nonprofit that deals with homelessness and the various issues of domestic violence, abuse, molestation, rape. And so we work with all of that. Um, the issues that bring us into homelessness, because in most cases, we don't go and get mental health. So this goes down the line. I won't go into it more. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Stephen.
Yes, my name is Stephen Coleman. I'm an educator at both UNLV, which is University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and at Nevada State College, our state college here. I work in recruitment, and I'm also a professor as well. And I I actually have my own side businesses as well too. I do consulting for small businesses and for uh, more just about helping people wake their dreams up. And collaborate with another good friend of mine, who's a sociologist. We call ourselves the savvy proletariats, and we talk about the changes that should be happening and how to make an equal society amongst the those who have and those who don't have.
My name is Michael Smith. I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor, licensed substance abuse counselor intern. I'm the clinical supervisor here at Renewed Minds. I also have my own business, Community of One Counseling Services. And also I have a nonprofit titled Find Your Way. And the whole purpose of that is to help individuals find their way through the maze that they find themselves in and how they come out successful.
Okay, so let's start with the maze, because in most cases, people are in the maze because of confusion, because they're trying to know, I'm sorry, how to change their lives, or they're just caught up in the maze. Mental entrapment. We could go through different various subjects, but I talked with a group yesterday so we can get started and change. And most people, they desire change, but they don't know how to go forward. And I think the best word for that is courage, because we've done so many things a certain way that we think, and I believe that God gives us ideas, but we won't approach the ideas because we're comfortable with what we've been doing. So change means that you have to have courage. I've taught many of my study groups that you need to write your change. And it reminds me of the dude in Black Panther when he said to do something, it sparks a feeling that I got to go forward. I can't let this thing defeat me, whatever it is. If it was drugs or molestation, if it was poverty, if it was anger, bitterness, whatever it is, why did you let it happen to him? He was one of us. Here we are with us, and we're allowing things to happen. We will not go forward to actually right the wrongs that we believe. We have to take courage.
Right. Yeah, I think you hit it on the head too with just when talking about changing lives or changing your life or changing your situation um, is not so much to change, because everybody wants to change. Everybody says I wanted it to change, but I know Dr. William Bridges talks about that it's not the issue of change; it's a transition. And that's one of the big things too, is that people don't realize the sacrifice that has to happen whenever you're actually looking at that change and so forth, the work that is put in. So everybody wants to be a millionaire, but it's like, but do you really want to put in the effort to get there? When I counsel, when I do counseling with students on what it is that they want to do, or what their what their life goals are, or what their dreams are, their hopes are. I tell them to start with the end in mind first. Let me know like what it is that you want to do, and then from there we talk about, okay, well, do you understand like the steps? And without understanding the steps, once people start realizing that, oh, I want to be a doctor, but oh, I have to go to med school. You know, oh, I need to take biology and chemistry and microbiology and biochemistry and so forth. And they realize that, like, the process of it. And they're like, oh, well, I thought I was going to be able to do this, but now I see that, you know, I don't have the flexibility of electives. You know, I may have to invest more time studying a subject that I don't particularly like and so forth. And, you know, a bulk of which is one reason why we see in college that, over 80% of students change their majors, at some point, because they realize that, oh, the process or the steps to get here isn't what I thought it was going to be. You know, everybody wants to work in, you think about your field, people want to work in mental health, but they want to do the glorified aspects of it. You know, they want to do the things that they think are fun, or they're going to change lives, but they don't understand, like, the countless amount of internship hours and that you may have to deal with, that you may have, that you may dig 100 holes at the beach, and over nighttime, the tides come and it covers your holes over again and so forth. You got to redig again and so forth. A lot of times people don't really understand, like, the process of what it takes to get there. And the same thing happens whenever we start looking at transitions in life, is that people don't, they want to change, but to look to see, like, what the sacrifice is going to come about. I read a quote from Dr. Bridges where it said, that without change, without actually going to, like, the transition, it's basically like in your life, you're not really changing, you're just moving the furniture around the room, like back and forth and so forth. And that's kind of where we see.
And then that takes us to the population that we mainly deal with, that may think about change, may think they want to change, but don't think they can change, or don't think they're worthy of that change. And then we have a great deal of people, of a population, that don't even think that they can change. They think that the way they're living is the way they're meant to live. But our main enemy is self-doubt.
Absolutely.
We may want to change, we don't take that step because we doubt that we can change, or we doubt that we can be successful, and are unwilling to take a chance, a leap of faith, if you will, because they're comfortable with where they're at right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
People get stuck because
Absolutely.
of that. And then that's where the transition comes in, because wanting change, then you got to put a foot in front of the other,
Right.
walking towards that change.
Absolutely.
You can't remain in place and change.
Right.
And change is uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
It has to be.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Change
So,
is uncomfortable.
It,
It's uncomfortable. You meet with yourself, and yourself is taking you in 2 or 3 different directions, which is confusion. You're confused about it, but change means that I collect myself. One of the things that I have been avid about is having leadership. I believe that when you don't know where to go, you reach out and you start asking, who can I trust to take me to the space that I need to be? I'm spiritual. I believe that if I talk to myself, if I talk to God, whatever the higher being is, because sometimes people, they discriminate even in religion. So I won't go into that. I just want to say that there's a hope in your faith and your foundation of belief. So first you got to get a foundation of belief before you can make it through any storm. If it's chaos is going on all over the world. People are watching it. Some people are pulled into the chaos that is not even theirs. So we have to have a grounding, like a tree. We got to be planted, right? But the next thing is, when we talk about these different paths that we have to take, when something is being offered, the reason why we don't have the surety is because we have no presence with our higher power, our God, our Jesus, our Buddha, whatever it is. You have to get centered. That means you got to come out of the chaos of the noise and begin to ask questions that only the invisible can give you answers with. And some people say, well, I did this and I tried it. Listen, you have to find leadership, because you have to find that grounding and that person that can speak to your mind and heart to say that stuck is not where I'm going to stay. Many people are stuck in emotional pain.
Right.
They're stuck in financial challenges because they don't have someone that they trust to take them out of that place, that person that has mastered it,
Right.
And that's one of the issues. behaviors do not change you if they don't change.
Absolutely.
If you think negative and you don't have the tenacity or the willpower or the strength or the wherewithal to change it, you're gonna be there.
Right. Yeah.
If you made Bill superior over your life, meaning you created Bills, then Bill is your master.
Right. Right. Exactly.
You need someone to show you how to get a loose from Bill.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But it's your responsibility that you created Bill.
Right.
It's no one else's. That's your lesson.
Right.
Look at life as a lesson. If it was rape, look at it as a lesson. What do I need to change? Don't be a victim. So that's how we change our mind and our behavior, because stuff.
Yeah. And what you said is it just jumps out at me because I go back on the process I went through for change, and what allowed me to make the major changes in my life to go back to school at the age of 53 and succeed is because I began to see I had a belief system. I believe in a higher power, but until I began to see myself as one with that higher power, things didn't take place. But once I realized that I was one with that higher power, which means I had all the power I needed to bring forth the idea or the vision that I saw. That's when it's like, that's when your confidence grows. That's when you will step out in faith because you believe that if you do things the right way, you're going to get the right results.
Right.
We have to stop seeing ourselves as separate.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So two things, I think, kind of with both of your points. I think, to your point first, yeah, I think that's part of the book out, called Conversation with God, and it's and that's part of some of the, of course, people, you find a lot of religious people that look at it as blasphemous because one of the things he talks about is there's some really key parts that from a biblical point of view, we learn that that you were created in God's image, and if you look at the first man, was created, as such that like with basically like pieces of what God had created. Essentially, you had pieces of God, and then when you create a woman, you created them out of man. And so essentially, this like the woman has pieces of God, as well too. So all of mankind has pieces and so forth. So essentially, we are essentially like gods within our own, within our own right. So and yeah, and that's part of it too. That we have to, we have to acknowledge that as well too. That that this is where we are. So yeah, so created in the likeness of something that's perfect, we have the ability to be perfect in capacities, and that's another thing that we have to, like teach ourselves.
Not the ability to be perfect. We got to realize that we're already perfect. And start acting accordingly.
Right. Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And then to your point too, I think you make a good comment when you talk about just about like taking like the accountability. I think that you're exactly right. That we have to. That we can't be a victim for forever. And for those out here, it's not telling you that you can't grieve and can't mourn and can't say that like, well, this is what happened. I think, when you can acknowledge, that if, that unfortunately, just by design, by the society, there's the bulk of us, especially people that look like us, who are born into like situations that are already at a disadvantage and so forth, and that there are mechanisms put in place to keep us bound, forever. Whether it is debt, whether it is mountains of bills, whether it is incarceration, whether there's lack of resources and so forth. These things are already put in place. However, it's not so much being like a victim of it. You have to realize that these things already exist, and when you can actually start to think about like what you have gone through, what your background, what your past looks like, go and acknowledge the fact that like this is who I am. Here are the situations, here are the things that have happened to me in my life. Here are the disadvantages, here are the roadblocks that I've already had to tackle and so forth. When you begin to identify those, you're identifying them and you're letting them go at that point. Because now that you're saying like, hey, this is who I am, or this is what has been thrown at me to make me be something I don't want to be. So now that I know this, how do I combat that and then move forward to like where I can take this and be influenced. I tell people that go through situations all the time. That I remember being arrested for the first time. So like I've had a few times, but I remember like the first time being arrested. Well, maybe the first time here in Vegas.
Yeah.
Like as someone who thought I was like doing something better. I remember talking to my dad, from the holding cell, and he said, "Yeah." He said, "So, what do you think you're supposed to learn from this?"
Mm.
And I was like, that's a good question, but it really completely put my mind in a completely different perspective, and then I completely, when I sat in there, I actually thought I began to do more observing and do more watching and do more like, oh, you exactly this is what it was, and it's been something that like it was one of the help shaping factors and so forth as well too. I mean, what I did, like for afterward, I dealt with adjudicated youth for like the next 3 years. They want to talk, they talk about, they think that's part of your stripes, like getting arrested, going to jail. I mean, I wasn't in prison by any means, and I haven't spent like significant time, but the majority of black men I know, have had some type of run-in, where with the law and so forth. But I use that to be like, well, let me use this as a teaching mechanism,
Right.
And I think that's is a lesson. I think whatever situation that we go through in life, that we especially as minorities, as black people, we go through quite a bit. When you look at there's statistics that show that even students or even kids who were black that are from more affluent areas, have higher depression even than those who are from impoverished situations,
right.
because they're already fit to the society where they are expected to achieve more.
Right.
And then a lot of times they have to code switch. They have to play along, within the roles and so forth. But one thing it also shows too is that we have like our resiliency is better. We handle stress better than the majority population and so forth. And it's because of the fact that most of us have gone through situations, and I think that's what it is more than anything, is I've been able to identify that here are the balance, here are the things that I've gone through.
Right.
Here are my roadblocks. Those who watched Hunger Games, I mean, that's the first thing Katniss did whenever she got into the game.
Mm-hmm.
You
got to get in the game.
When she got into the game, she looked around and realized like what she doesn't have. I'm not from the districts that have the most money. I don't have formal training. I don't, I don't have like all these other mass weapons and so forth. But what I do have, I'm a marksman with this, with the bow and arrow. I can climb and I can scope the land and so forth as well, which helped at the end to be successful. And that's what we have to do as well.
Get in
the game, identify what you don't have. Like, we watch film when we play sports. We watch to see like what's already out there. What's the defense doing? What are they throwing at us? So we can know how to better prepare. We may not have this. You may not have this what everybody in life perceives like as a superstar talent, but you have something within you that can keep you going.
Born into poverty doesn't mean that you're impoverished.
Right.
Bad things happening to you does not mean you're a bad person. We have to stop letting circumstances determine who we are. You have to bring forth your light in the middle of darkness. One of the best times of my life is when I spent 8 years in prison, but I was not in prison.
Right. Yeah.
I was in those walls, but I freed my mind because I used my time to study and make sure that this is an experience that I won't go through again.
Right.
So no matter where you find yourself, no matter what happens to you, that doesn't determine what kind of person you are. You have to always remember, I'm a good person. Bad things happen to good people.
Right.
But good people will respond according to who they are. They will not let these situations make them angry, depressed, or any other way. You will find a way to succeed wherever you are.
Absolutely.
If you just concentrate on the good.
Absolutely.
In the middle of the storm,
right?
Be calm.
Yeah. Be the calm in the middle of the storm. I believe that we're gonna get to our ending because we all have to go to work. So we're gonna make this here a weekly thing to get together. And as the young people say, chop it up.
Right.
The lesson is a number one thing. The other thing is remember that your struggle is your lesson. That's the thing that you need to overcome. And I don't say it because of education. I say it from
Right.
the struggles
Absolutely.
that I came from. I could get into living in the projects or being born there. But that's a good thing to look back and say that determination was the way that made me over. And it wasn't just my own determination. It was that spiritual foundation within me.
Right.
And it's not always that you are given a spiritual foundation so you find one today, because your struggle is your lesson, your mental struggle, your physical struggle, even if you're sick. I mean, you can heal your body.
Absolutely.
This is
Right.
not a
Yeah.
myth.
Yeah.
Scientifically,
Yeah.
you go and you do research. One of the things that I talk to people like these young men about is that we don't study enough. That's one of the greatest downfalls, when our ancestors came here struggling to study. So it's not just me. A poor mind does not predicate that it will be the end of your mind. Your mind becomes rich when you feed it.
Right.
It becomes a part of your heart. So we have to do the work. The lessons are what we came here for.
Absolutely.
We didn't come here to
Right.
work 9 to 5.
Right.
We didn't come here to be employed.
Right. Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
tell my staff, you didn't come here to work. You came here to be a part of creativity.
Right. Absolutely.
Create in the venue that you are. Allow your truth to come forth. And a lot of people are they're keeping their truth at bay because they're being everything that they want other people or what other people want them to be.
Right.
Because they don't fully believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I know, or don't really think that their truth can
Make
set
a
them
difference.
free, you know?
Yeah.
I listened to a podcast from Malcolm Gladwell just yesterday, you know, and I've gone back to listen to it again. It's called Carlos Doesn't Remember, but it's about a young man, Latino individual from California who grew up in all the, horrible situations, but by the time you listen to the story, there's things that he just doesn't remember, like the scout who recruited him to come to school for his gifted thinking, would ask him questions like, don't you remember when this happened, whenever you didn't want to go play with the kids because your shoes were three sizes too big, and he's like, oh, I forgot about that. And or in these situations, but there were so many negative things that he had actually begun to suppress at one point that he had put into a box because. And we talk about yes, you need to go back and remember those type of things so it can drive you. But he put them into a box so he can remember that this is just something that's thrown at me. Education is my way out. Or this is going to be my way out, and so forth. And of course, he ended up going on to these different schools. End up having his mother didn't see his mother for like a year and a half. He got ripped out of foster care. He and his sister were separated. Different homes and so forth. But I think that's part of what we, when I listen to stories like that, it definitely reminds me of with, just the population of people that we work with as well too. And that you said it very well, is finding a leader or finding someone. You look at the number of students down. It's over 35,000 students who come from poor backgrounds, who live low socioeconomic status, but they score in the 90th percentile on their standardized tests. They can go to any of these other schools and so forth, but they don't even apply. They don't even look at them. They don't even try to go to these other.
You want to tell them about
places,
the retreat this week, and
we
want to tell them about that because that rings that bell.
Yeah, and we'll be talking more so about that as far as with Black students. We do or just minority students in general, and men. So we will be having a men of color retreat. For people who are either, if you're graduating, you're gonna attend one of the colleges out here in Nevada, or you're already there and you feel like that you have not been able to find yourself, or you've not been able to identify a leader or identify the king within you. We do invite you out to come to this conference. This one-day retreat is going to be this Saturday from 8:30 to 4:30 at Nevada State College. You can follow the signs once you get there. You can also call me or text me. At this point, area code 504-237-2733. I'll link you with the coordinator of the event. It's just easier if you just call me at this point since I'm advertising. I need to text him afterward, but hey, I advertise you on the stream. But But those are the type of things that we talk about, you know,
Right.
like that we have the gifts,
Mhm.
you know, within us.
Mhm.
But you know, we have to find, you know, like sometimes find those individuals like to help us foster
Mhm.
those gifts that we have, that can, you know, that can help us get to like those next levels.
Yes, because we're all part of the one.
Mhm.
Everybody came into this existence with a particular gift to add to the whole. That's going to help everyone.
Mhm.
You know, but first you have to believe in yourself.
Right.
Yes, and so Michael is a clinical therapist here at Renewed Mind and Community One. I am here, I'm directing, and I advocate behavioral change. If you need help in that area, and many of us will hide from help, we're leaders as well. We're not just therapists. So if you want to say, I need leadership, that's great. You could call us at 702-629-6555. We work in the community. And we're together now. We're also pulling together a forum, so we got more coming every week here. Be a part.
And backing on what Kim just said, we don't turn anyone down.
No, it's no judgment.
I mean, a lack of finances, do not let that be an excuse for not seeking help. Because if we can't help you, we will refer you somewhere where you will get what you need.
Right.
We're here on Maryland Parkway. So we want you to reach out, and we'll be back with you. We're going to end the session now. And thanks for anybody that's listening. If you're looking for change, then this is your place of change. All right. Thanks, guys. These are my brothers. Thank you. So thank you.
Oh, nice.
27 minutes and